So much OG Anunoby news has came out in the last few days, and this one I won't bore you with a ton of details that I've already mentioned. As you guys know, there has been some friction within the locker room and the Toronto Raptors, allegedly, according to Jake Fisher, Mark Stein, Chris Haynes, and this information comes from Haynes and Mark Stein from their new podcast, hashtag This League Uncut. Great podcast. And uh, so a lot of this is coming from a lot of the insiders in the NBA. And it has been reported as well by The Athletic that the Raptors will make a move at the deadline. And the three players up in the air are Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, and OG Anunoby. Gary Trent is seeming like the most likely to be moved for either two very good second-round picks or a heavily protected first-round pick is the rumor right there. But OG Anunoby is supposedly ready for a trade from Toronto. This is coming from Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports and Turner Sports in general. And we know that the New York Knicks are offering 3 first-round picks. Allegedly, the Memphis Grizzlies are interested, as well as the Pelicans. So we're going to get right into this. I want to hear your thoughts down below. What do you think of this information? Do you believe OG Anunoby will be traded, and what do you think he should be traded for? As this is a interesting situation to say the very least, because OG Anunoby is a guy that I personally believe, with more touches, he could be a guy who could develop and be an all-star next year and be this 20-point scorer, because a lot of people like myself believe that OG Anunoby is somewhat handicapped because he's not the number one scorer, not even the second scoring option on this team. So for me, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. If you're a Raptors fan watching, do you guys agree that this is a guy who could take his game to being a 20-plus point scorer if he is traded to another team? But let's talk about the information that has been released. The Toronto Raptors are receiving a lot of interesting calls for OG Anunoby. The New York Knicks have reportedly offered 3 first-round picks for Anunoby. The players we would assume is either a package of Derrick Rose and Cam Reddish, an Evan Fournier straight up with 3 first-round picks, something along those lines. The Memphis Grizzlies and the New Orleans Pelicans are also interested in the Raptors forward. We've said that a deal of Zaire Williams and Dylan Brooks could get the deal done, and they could probably just do 2 second-round picks, or they could do Danny Green, Zaire Williams, and 3 first-round picks. But the Pelicans is a bit more interesting as they've came into the picture, as we know that they are armed with Najee Marshall, Jackson Hayes, and Devontae Graham as a package that they've been looking to move, and they can offer some picks. So there's an increased belief that Anunoby is ready to move on from Toronto, Chris Haynes tells us, and the Raptors are considered the key team to watch this week as we approach the deadline in 1 week. And it's still unclear what Masai Ujiri's plan is for this team that's underachieving. Both the Grizzlies and Pelicans host a combination of young players and salaries and draft picks that they could offer to the Raptors in a trade for Anunoby, similar to how the Knicks are. And all 3 teams reportedly, are interested, but specifically the Pelicans and the Grizzlies are 2 teams that don't want to see the other team land the two-way power forward. My personal opinion, it's more likely OG Anunoby is traded to the Grizzlies and the Pelicans than the Knicks, because you don't trade players within your conference. So, with that being said, alright, like, I just, it's an interesting situation because OG, I see if you put it, I think OG, if the Pelicans do the deal, they might have to give up Herb Jones. I would consider Herb Jones untouchable. Now, personally, I think if you look at this situation and you personally look at it, I personally think the Grizzlies is the best fit for OG. Next to John Moran and Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond and OG Anunoby. But OG Anunoby, I think, again, goes into a situation where he's the guy getting the 3rd or 4th touches. In New York, he would be, again, 3rd touches. In, again, all these situations, he would be a 3rd guy. And I think, look, it's an interesting situation, in my opinion. I don't know what the right deal is right here, and that's where I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What would you give up for OG Anunoby and why? But that's going to be it for me, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Goodbye.